Let's look at this spreadsheet. We run a club, and we have lists called paid members and one called overdue members. So this list, the paid members, is the latest updated list showing us all the members you have paid their current membership fees. And list 2, overdue members, are the members who have overdue payments. We want to compare both lists to identify which overdue members have now paid their fees, members who appear in both lists. I can see, for example, that Lorraine Ryan has now paid her subscription fee as she appears in both lists. Also, I want to identify which members are still overdue, appear in the overdue list, but not in the paid list. I can see, for example, that Kelly Wayne and Anna Black has still not paid their fees. Finally, I want to identify members who paid their fees on time. That is, they appear only in the paid list, not in the overdue list. We can see, for example, that members like John Smith and Michael Green both paid on time. I also now want, after getting this updated payments list, to calculate the total fees paid by members who were overdue but have now paid. I will put this formula in this cell here. And finally, as you can see, I want to apply conditional formatting to visually highlight the various payment positions. We will color green members who have paid their fees and were overdue, that is, they appear in both lists. We will color red members who are still overdue, that is, they are only in the overdue list. And finally, we will color in blue members who paid on time, that is, they appear only in the paid list. Now we will look at possible solutions, which we will then compare with the solutions offered by ChatGPT. But firstly, to create this spreadsheet solution, we will need to know and use the following functions: lookup functions or match function, sum ifs, sum if, and not if error, and the EF function. We will also need to understand the following techniques and logic: relative and absolute references, logical operators, conditional formatting with formula. So back with our spreadsheet, the main task could be completed by the VLOOKUP functions, like this one here, but a match function. So basically, the formula checks if a member's name from the paid members list exists in the overdue members list. It uses VLOOKUP to search for the member's name in the overdue list. If the name is found, it returns the name. If not found, it results in an error. Error then determines whether an error occurred during the lookup. If there's no error, meaning the member was found, it returns false. If there is an error, meaning the member was not found, it returns true. The not function reverses the result of the IS error check. If the member is found, this becomes true. If not, it becomes false. Finally, the IF function uses this result to categorize the member as paid overdue if they were found in the overdue list, or paid on time if they were not found. So, for example, let's look at Sarah Johnson. The VLOOKUP function looks for her name here in the paid overdue list, and of course it finds it, so it returns her name. Then the IS error returns false as there was no error. This false is fed in the not function, which turns it into a true. Thus, the true part of the overall if function is executed. Now, to calculate the total fees paid by overdue members, we could use a sum IFs or a sum if function like this one here. So the sum range is the B range, the list of subscription payments. The criteria range is the range here of payment status, and the criteria is paid overdue. So for all the records equal to pay overdue, it will add the corresponding values in the B range. Finally, let us look at possible formulas we can use to apply the conditional formats. We are showing them over here. These, of course, in real life, would be placed inside the conditional formatting formula settings. So we want to visually highlight members using conditional formatting based on their payment status. We want green for paid overdue members, those who were overdue but have now paid. A possible formula for that is here in cell K6. If cell C4 downwards is equal to paid overdue, then the equation is true and the conditional formatting is implemented on the corresponding record in the A range, the selected range. It's formatted with a green fill. Now we want blue for paid on time members, those who were never overdue and paid on time. So a possible formula for that is here in case 7, and it works the same way as the previous conditional formatting formula. Finally, we want a red formatting for overdue members who haven't paid yet, those who still appear in the overdue list but not the paid list. For this, we could use something like the following formula in cell K8. This formula works similar to the initial formula at the beginning. It starts by checking if E4 exists in the range A4 to A13. If it doesn't, VLOOKUP returns a number sign NA error, and the ISNA function converts this to true, indicating the value isn't found. Now, before we build the prompt for this example, let's look at certain prompting techniques that stand out, and especially when building prompts for Excel, as of late 2024. Supply very detailed context in terms of both the data and the problem. Present information clearly and logically. In particular, supply a clear description of any datasets, both column headings and range descriptions. Paste samples that end with delimiters. Breakdown of requirements. Instead of a block of text, list the requirements step by step for better clarity. Use directional nudging. ChatGPT often needs to be nudged in the correct direction. For example, copy the formula down the range A2 to A10. We have found that ChatGPT often ignores relative and absolute referencing and does not always recognize Excel tables. So we always include, when it is required in the solution, the text. Please allow for proper application of relative and absolute references when copying formulas. And if using tables, I want a solution that leverages Excel structured references since these are Excel tables. If you want the prompt to use certain functions, let the prompt know. The more directions it gets, the better. This helps it overcome one of its biggest weaknesses, not supplying the most efficient optimal solution. Emphasize and repeat the verbal action you want, and we have found it best to start the sentence with the verb, compare the lists, count the items, etc. Here is the prompt we have built. Directional nudging and verbal commands are in red, and we are giving the prompt as much direction as we can. For example, note the line, use the comparison result in column C directly for conditional formatting. This is to help it to give the most optimal efficient solution. I have two lists of club members in Excel, a current list of paid members in the range A4 to B8, a list of overdue members in the range E3 to E8. I need to generate formulas that directly compare both lists using VLOOKUP, match or similar, to identify which overdue members have now paid their fees. If a member is found on both lists, i.e., they were previously overdue but have now paid, label them paid overdue. If a member is only found in the paid list, i.e., they paid on time and were never overdue, label them paid on time. The comparison result should go into cell C4 and be copied down. Calculate the total subscription fees paid by members who were previously overdue but have now paid. Apply conditional formatting with the following rules. Green, members who were overdue but have now paid appear in both lists. Blue, members who paid on time only appear in the paid list. Red, members who are still overdue only appear in the overdue list but not the paid list. Please provide the exact formulas. Use the comparison result in column C directly for conditional formatting. Use direct cell references as much as possible. Ensure proper use of relative and absolute references when copying. Please supply the required formulas in tabular form. There is no need for explanations. I am using Excel 2019. List samples. Let's input the prompt into ChatGPT and let's see what it comes up with. And here is its solution. Now it is using a match function. We use the VLOOKUP function, but both are suitable for this tasks and should work okay. I will copy this formula and I will test it out in our spreadsheet. And as we scroll down, we can see that the sum if function is correct, and also we can see that the formulas for conditional formatting are exactly the same as the ones that we had created ourselves, except, again, it's used the match function, which is fine. So let's go back to the spreadsheet and input the main formula and see if it works. I will copy the formula here. Drag it down and it works perfectly. Note that ChatGPT got the relative and absolute referencing spot on. So the response from ChatGPT has been very good, but the importance of accurate prompting should be noted in getting it to work accurately. But even if it does not work properly the first time, remember prompt writing is an iterative process. AI models like ChatGPT are not search engines. They're designed for dialogue. If an initial prompt doesn't yield the expected result, refine the prompt. Evaluate the clarity of your instructions. Check it against our template and checklist. Has the model had enough time to reason and identify any potentially misleading elements in the prompt? The key to success is to iteratively refine your prompt, improving its effectiveness with each iteration to best suit your task.